Welcome back, everybody, to River Ave Radio. My name is Ryan. I got Kyle with me here today. How you doing? We got spring training baseball. How we feeling?
I'm doing great. It's awesome to finally be back. Awesome to be watching MLB. It's awesome to be messing with the Gotham Sports app. Totally awesome to have it not work at all ever. But if the Gotham Sports app isn't working, that means baseball's back, and that makes me happy. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk a bunch about the pitchers. We're going to talk about the Rays. We're going to do a whole series here coming up about our division rivals.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We're going to start with the Rays, and then we're going to do the Orioles next week, Blue Jays after that, and then the Red Sox in the probably final week leading up to spring training. There might be one after it. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be observing the Yankees' divisional opponents, and it's an exciting series, we think, because the AL East is nasty this year. The Rays are probably it's easy to agree that they are the worst team in this division, and they would be one of the best teams in many other divisions. And so, most importantly, they're going to win enough games specifically against other teams within the East to affect the standings at the end of the year. And as you saw last year when it came down to literally one game between the Yankees and the Blue Jays, any one win can make all the difference. So the AL East is going to be a gauntlet this year. There's a reason they call it the AL Beast. I'm glad we can put all this NL West talk to bed, because there's no way that a division with the Rockies can be the best division in baseball. I just think that's a ridiculous concept, but that's neither here nor there. Before we get started, just would like to remind everyone, please like, subscribe, retweet this if you saw the link on Twitter, or put it on your story if you saw it on Instagram. We really appreciate the interactions, and we're ready to get started. But
Yeah, let's just jump right into it.
first, before we get started with the Rays, we're going to jump into some Yankees spring training highlights. We got some interesting little data nuggets to go off of based on the first few games. And Kyle, you want to take us into that?
Yeah, so yesterday, Wednesday, we're recording this on Thursday the 26th. Yesterday, we watched Ryan Weathers' first start as a Yankee, and he looked really awesome. He looked better than he ever did as a Marlin, and that's really saying a lot because he looked pretty good when he was healthy. He topped out at nearly 100 miles an hour, which is literally the hardest he's ever thrown in his career. He had great movement. He struck one of these Nationals batters out on a 100-mile-per-hour fastball with 17 inches of induced vertical break, which is really good. That basically just means that the pitch seems flat coming in, because obviously you're on a mound throwing downhill, but higher induced vertical break basically makes the batter think that it's flatter, and it makes it easier for the pitcher to get whiffs on it. This type of pitch is incredible. Like, it's similar to Yamamoto and other great pitchers like that, and it's kind of just seems like it's going to be a matter of staying healthy. Honestly, him throwing so hard in the first outing of spring training kind of makes me worried, just because he's never thrown more than like 100 innings in a season. So, I don't know, but the numbers down there are just awesome.
I do think it's interesting that a lot of Yankees seem to be throwing really hard in camp right now. I know Ryan Weathers came out of the gun, in the first couple live bullpens, he was throwing really hard. And obviously Carlos Negron got Judge on a 103 mile per hour pitch in a bullpen, same thing. So, I don't know what that is really, but that seems to be a trend, maybe something to keep an eye on. Just something that I've been noticing.
Yeah, I think that they really are coming out high effort, which is interesting. I don't really think that's normal. I mean, I've watched spring training every year for the last, I don't know, half of my life, and it's hard to remember the last time that they really came out of the gates firing on all cylinders like this. It's not just his fastball, though. It's really every single one of his pitches that was above average yesterday. If you go to TJ Stats on Twitter, he does obviously great work on data visualization for pitchers. He was throwing 5 different pitches that were all above average to very well above average. He was throwing a changeup, a sweeper, his four-seamer obviously, but also a sinker and a slider. The stuff plus, like 100 is league average, so above 100 is good. pretty much all these pitches were above an 110, which is excellent, and his slider specifically was at a 121, which is truly elite territory. So overall, just kind of incredible from him. Like, you really couldn't have asked for a better performance than that in your first Yankee appearance.
Yeah, I mean, it was just unbelievable. That one pitch that you were talking about, the 100 miles per hour, it's just was disgusting. And he looked nasty all night. It was really encouraging to see. Again, I think we were both really big fans of the trade when that happened. I think it's really more of a health issue, which is definitely, again, interesting why they're coming out of the gate so hard, because a lot of these guys, a lot of the Yankees pitchers are coming off of career high workloads and things like that, and it's interesting. And Ryan Weathers obviously has an extensive injury history, so maybe who knows what the strategy is. It'll be interesting to see as camp unfolds if this is a trend that continues, or maybe if they're going to hold it back more towards the end, but we'll see. Either way, it was very encouraging to see what we saw last night from Ryan Weathers. I think.
Yeah, something to say though is that future injuries aren't always predicted by past injury history. There's some injuries that do actually make it so you're going to injure in the future. Like if you have nerve issues, which we're going to get into later with Shane McClanahan on the Rays, that can be indicative that you're going to have problems in the future. But just because you were injured in the past doesn't mean you're going to be injured in the future. Judge was injured for half the season every season for 3 years. And besides obviously 2023, which was a freak injury, he's been perfectly healthy for the last couple of years. And I think that Ryan Weathers hopefully will be in a similar boat where he hasn't had any injuries that make me think, ooh, that could really lead to something down the line. But again, pitchers who don't get injured all the time. So
Right.
It's something to be concerned about, but until it happens, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. But either way, it's very exciting, and I mean, he's not going to be that good every time, or even that good when the season starts. But if he's even close to the level that he was at yesterday, it's going to be very exciting. And he's going to be the exciting thing about Ryan Weathers, if he stays healthy, is his versatility. You can use him out of the bullpen, you can use him out of the rotation. It's just very exciting all around. And it's always much more fun to see a pitcher coming out throwing 100. Pitches are dropping left and right, than a pitcher getting shelled, and you just have to sit there and convince you, it's spring training. It's cool to see them come out on the first day just throwing heat. So thank you, Ryan Weathers, for not stressing us out on a Wednesday night. But moving on to...
Speaking about throwing heat, tell me about LaGrange.
Yeah.
LaGrange. It is LaGrange. We talked about this last time.
It's been...
To be clear, I need to make a statement on this. I claimed unequivocally that it was LaGrange, and that was because during the pod I pulled up a clip of the official Somerset Patriots, which is the Yankees minor league affiliate, interviewing him, and their guy called him LaGrange. So don't blame me, blame the Yankees employees.
I think there was some confusion. He was telling a couple of people different things. Like there were a couple of different reports from the beat reporters and things like that at the start of spring training. But LaGrange, it's been established, and moving on. I'm just so excited. I mean, it's very rare that you see physical specimens like Carlos LaGrange. I mean, he's 6'7", just like Judge. He's a monster, and he throws a just absolute heater of a fastball. I think there was that ridiculous quote from him. Like Chris Kirshner asked him what his favorite pitch was, and he was like, "It's my fastball. It's hard and long or whatever." He said something stupid, but he's right. Like it's an insane pitch, and he didn't look like a major league starter. The other day I didn't get the chance to watch the full game, but just from what I was seeing, he was kind of getting battered around. The Tigers were getting some hard contact, but I mean it's. it's really difficult not to get excited when you see, again, someone come out doing what Carlos Legrand was doing last Saturday. I mean, there was like a 3-pitch strikeout sequence, and I think it was like either a sinker or a sweeper maybe, and a changeup and his fastball, and it just completely befuddles hitters. It's insane. And he doesn't have a lot. It's not a deep pitch mix. It's 4 pitches, but it's definitely enough to get the job done for now. And his slider hit nearly 2 feet of movement. I mean, what more can you say other than that? Kyle, what were you thinking when you were watching Legrand pitch the other day?
Yeah, he was really awesome to watch. I think that he's not ready yet, obviously. That's why there's really has been no talk of him breaking camp with the Major League roster. He really has 3 pitches right now, but he's mainly just a fastball guy. His off-speed pitches do have plus stuff, but he really can't locate them yet. But obviously, you can't just say when he gets his location he's going to be incredible, because lots of guys have good stuff and can't ever find the zone, because getting to that good stuff means having bad command. But even if he can get to like slightly below average command, the stuff is just that good that he can make an excellent starter. There's a lot of good stuff from Ryan Garcia about like how the Yankees are looking at him internally, and obviously a lot of people look at him and say, ooh, he'd make a great reliever. And the Yankees could use a guy throwing 103 out of the bullpen closing games. Like, I'm not going to argue with that. But as you were saying, you only get a physical specimen. I don't like calling him a specimen. He's a guy. But you only get people like this who have these sort of arm talents every so often. And not even trying to make him a starter would definitely be a waste. And at the end of the day, if he sucks as a starter, it's never too late to move him to the bullpen. But right now, I'm excited to see how he develops as a starter. I think that if there's injuries, he could be coming up later in the year. I think that there's other people on the depth chart slightly ahead of him. We're going to talk about Elmer Rodriguez in a little bit. He's probably the guy on the fringe right now. But after watching that, I'm definitely all in on his future. I don't know if he's going to pan out as a starter, but I do think he has a bright future in the league, and that will help the Yankees one way or the other.
Yeah, like you said, it's impossible not to get excited, and I think that I don't know. Cashman always drops hints and stuff like this, and he was saying in an interview maybe a week or two ago, he was like, "Oh yeah, a ton of starters come up and make their break through the bullpen, and then eventually they make it into the rotation, and blah 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 blah." And it's like, I would love to see him as a starter, but I think if he's ready this year, and there's room in the bullpen and there's not in the rotation, like, bring him up, let him face major league hitters. Doesn't make sense for him to stay down there just ripping up AAA if that's what he's doing. If he's not doing that, then obviously that's a different conversation. But I'm very excited to see what happens with him this year and what changes to his mechanics that he's making to sort of work on that command issue.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I think he definitely could make an impact this year, even if there's not a starter spot in the rotation. That would be awesome, but obviously injuries do happen. But let's just say hypothetically no injuries happen and the rotation's full. We've seen a lot of time that people can convert from starter to reliever back to starter. Like, we used Clark Schmidt as a reliever for a long time, especially in the playoffs, to mixed results, to be fair, but it did not hamper his development. Michael King, obviously a great reliever for us that turned into an excellent starter. So one way or the other, we're going to be seeing Legrand at the major league level this year. I am pretty certain of that. We also saw Luis Gil pitch. What do you think about his spring training debut?
It was once again just a Luis Gil start where it worked, I guess, and here's the thing. A few episodes ago, I was talking about Volpe. I was thinking about this when I was doing research and planning for this episode, and I remember saying, like, you got to adjust your expectations for Volpe, because expecting the prospect type Volpe is just not fair to him, and I think I kind of have to apply the same logic to Luis Gil, like expecting him to come out and throw 100 does nothing. And so I think if you know, if he can be an effective starter, you know, maybe add another pitch into the mix, improve his secondaries, and, you know, his high is 97 and he's sitting 93 to 95, which is what he was doing in his spring training start the other day, then, and he's an effective back end starter, or he slots into the bullpen eventually, like, that's very exciting. And you know, you need depth. Not every guy in your rotation is an ace. You need the 3.5, 4 or 5 ERA guy to kind of lock it down and just eat innings, especially, you know, when we get to the infamous June swoon.
Yeah, I'm excited generally relative to my expectation. I am a Luis Gil hater, as anyone who follows my Twitter know. I talk a lot of shit about Luis Gil. It's mostly based on disappointment, but that's why what you're saying about adjusting expectations is important, because in my brain, I think it's hard for me to separate the Rookie of the Year hype, and even, like, if you remember when he originally came up, all the way back in, was it 2021 maybe?
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, but he was great right out of the gate. And I thought, wow, he's going to be an amazing part of this rotation. And then last year was so disappointing, especially in the playoffs. I did see some things that I did like, despite his velo not being what it used to be. He was throwing strikes, but not in the, like, complete meatball strike throwing he was doing last year. It seemed that the movement was also a little bit better. We talked a lot about in our previous episodes that Luis Gil's problem is that his pitches just really weren't moving like they used to, and they were slower. So even if they're slower, if the movement goes back to be at least comparable to what it used to be, he's going to be way more effective than he was last year. So overall, I'd say neither of us are convinced that he's going to be good, but we're also not out on him at all.
The start was definitely encouraging. I don't want to say it was encouraging, but it wasn't discouraging, you know? Like, again, and if Luis Gil needs to improve, he cannot be the pitcher he was last year. Luis Gil was incredibly lucky to make it through.
I will kill myself if I see Luis Gil 2025
ERA. Like, it's.
Oh my god.
And I think about this a lot. It's very emblematic of Luis Gil's season that he ended his 6 innings of no-hit ball against the Red Sox with like 100-mile-per-hour line out that got snagged out of the air. And
yeah, that was one of the luckiest, like, pitching stretches I've ever seen in my life. Like, his expected, go look at his Baseball Savant page for his expected numbers. They were awful. He was genuinely one of the luckiest people on earth. He should have bought a lottery ticket.
He should have. He should have went to Vegas. Or I guess not.
But otherwise, I think that he'll be at least productive. I think that this has shown that he's not completely washed. There's at least some juice in the tank. Whether or not it's like 3/4 of a tank or maybe 1/8 of a tank left, I think it remains to be seen. But we'll be keeping a close eye on him going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, moving forward. No sense in beating a dead horse. Will Warren. So in 2025, Will Warren, there was a quote before the season that I think still really rings true. And it was like, analysts love the shape of his pitches, but so do hitters. And it's still very true. Like, I was looking up, like, spin rates of fastballs and things like that, and I looked up the leaderboard on Baseball Savant, searched it by who had the best spin rates on their fastball. Lo and behold, who is at the top? Will Warren. Like, he's throwing one of the best fastballs in the league, and his sweeper, same thing. Like, the stuff models love it. It's got crazy movement, velo, whatever. Like, but when it gets hit, it gets shelled. Like, and he's so close to being exactly what we need him to be, which is the same thing as Luis Gil, like a 3.5 ERA guy just at the back making all his starts, which is what he was last year to a certain extent. But again, like, he needs to improve upon last year. He needs to work on his secondary. So the sweeper is going to be the key to his success, I think. And again, interested to see what Will Warren looks like. It was very encouraging to start the other day. the sweeper looked really good. His fastball looked really good. And I was kind of watching in and out. Kyle, I don't know if you happened to see more of it. I was pretty sick this weekend, so.
Yeah, I was watching. His fastball still looks great. His sweeper did look good, but again, we talked a little bit about this in a previous episode. But Will Warren is basically a guy with one of the best fastballs in baseball, and one of the worst, I think the worst changeup in baseball. So he's really like kind of a polar opposite kind of guy. And the sweeper's kind of a little bit in the middle, where last year it wasn't very good in results, but it had the characteristics to be good in the future. So I think that Will Warren last year, if you remember, was also great during spring training. A lot of people, including us, were very excited about him going out. Spring training isn't real. We all know it. But I think that building on last year is a reasonable expectation. I think Luis Heel, who's been in the league a little bit longer, has had a little bit more time to work it out, and also has had a lot more injuries to kind of change the characteristics of how he throws, is a lot more of a wild card in terms of expectations and results for this year. But I think Will Warren, who's on a much more normal trajectory, at least it seems, is much more of a lock to improve this season. And you said before that we could really use like a 3.5 to a 4 ERA from him. I think expecting that out of him is not unrealistic. I think that the Yankees have shown the ability to develop these off-speed pitches. We see it in Ryan Weathers right now. All of his pitches have gotten better since coming over to the Marlins. So I'm excited to see Will Warren pitch for us this year. Worst case scenario, he eats innings because he's healthy. And honestly, if he has a 4.5 ERA again, but he makes 30 starts, that's still a productive Major League Baseball player, and I'm happy he's on the roster.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I know, and this is a little bit off topic, but a lot of people are talking about running it back, and I know that this is like such people are like this is a shill argument or whatever, but like they're not running it back. Like this opening day roster is leagues better than last year's opening day roster. Like Will Warren being our back end rotation guy, and not Cookie Carrasco being our back end rotation guy, who's currently being knocked around by the Yankees, and
he didn't even make it out of the first inning.
Yeah, like that and Marcus Stroman, like, and again he put up a few good starts, but then after a while it just got to a point where you couldn't even put the ball in his hand, and you really just have to consider how much better we've gotten through subtraction, and I'm excited that Will Warren is going to be making the starts that he's going to be making. So I think next, just talking about Elmer Rodriguez, we've brought him up. The exciting thing about him, very, very deep pitch mix. 6 pitches that are very much usable. And, the stuff models don't love any of them really, but he gets a lot of ground balls. And with the Yankees defense behind him, there's a lot to be excited about. And I think there's probably a higher chance that we see Elmer this year rather than Carlos Legrande. I don't know what you think, but I mean, he faced 6 of the currently listed on Fangraphs opening day starters for the Orioles and did pretty well. So what do you think?
Yeah, stuff models really do hate him. He doesn't really have any above average pitches according to stuff. But that being said, there's something to be said about pitchability. Pitchability just kind of means how all of your pitches fit together and how you can attack batters with them. His 6 pitches aren't necessarily elite stuff-wise, but all of them are good enough that if he mixes them in well and he locates them, that he can be an effective Major League starter. You don't need to be a stuff demon to make it in the major leagues. Obviously, as the game progresses, it becomes more and more important. Like, we don't have guys chugging 85-mile-per-hour fastballs anymore for a reason. But he throws 98, he throws hard, he has lots of different things, and none of them are awful. I think that there is reason to be excited about ERC, I guess ER. We talked about this last time.
Yeah.
It used to be Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, now he's just Elmer Rodriguez. But I think that as a guy who isn't coming into the season as a major league starter, he's definitely better than most teams' 6th starter coming into the year.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. And again, it's just kind of in wait and see mode with a lot of these guys right now. It's their first start, and it's nice not to have to come on here and say, well, they got knocked around, and it's spring training, they're young, whatever. Like the young guys have proven that they are worth being excited about. But I think the last Yankee update is going more on the veteran side. Garrett Cole has had some very, very positive updates in his rehab timeline, it seems. He hit 97 in a bullpen the other day, and he was very surprised about that, he said in the interview afterwards, but maintained that they're not going to rush the recovery process. They're still targeting a June-ish recovery. They're not looking to bump that up. And but I do think, again, it's I sound like a broken record, but it's exciting not to see him come out and, topping out at 94 and having to say, okay, well, he hasn't thrown a bullpen and blah, 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 blah. And blah, blah, blah. Like, no, he came out and he threw 97. Cool. Like, I think we can now, like, check that box. Okay, the velocity's most likely still going to be there.
Yeah, I would love to see him throw in front of like a TrackMan where we could see the spin and stuff, because that's arguably more important than the velo. But he has a couple months to figure that stuff out. I haven't heard anything about his other pitches. Obviously, Garrett Cole's bread and butter was his fastball, but can't do much with only a fastball.
Right.
So I would like to hear about some of the other stuff. In terms of expectations, I think we both had relatively high expectations for him. We both believed that he would be an important contributor to the team this year. So it's just good to see that nothing has really changed on that front. We still both expect him to be productive, and all signs point to that being the case coming up this year.
Yeah. Well, I think that is enough on the Yankees side, unless you had anything else.
No, I think let's talk about our enemies. So first up in this little series we're going to do, we're talking about the Rays. Something overall to note is that, as most of you know, last year they played at our spring training field, the field that we're playing a game at right now. They played at George M. Steinbrenner Field, which is by far the most hitter-friendly park when it's being compared to major league stadiums. And now they're back in the Trop, which is obviously an awful stadium, but in terms of actually how it plays, the Rays are going from the most hitter-friendly park in baseball to about average. There's obviously some weird quirks about the park. They got that really low left field corner. But other than that, it's going to be interesting to see how this affects people. There's a lot of weird home-away splits on a lot of these Rays guys. So we're going to get into that soon. But first, let's talk a little bit about their starting five. So I'm just going to go through their 1 through 5 real quick. I'll list them out for you. Their number 1 is going to be Drew Rasmussen, followed by Ryan Pepio, who came from the Dodgers. Why are you giggling?
Because why
are you smiling?
The Rays are like all of our like funny fantasy nicknames. They're all the Rays.
It's true.
It's literally every single one of them.
Drew Rasmussen. All these pitchers have done really funny things for our fantasy league. I didn't even realize, like, 4 out of 5.
I've never even, like, I'm looking at the list, and it's just really making me laugh. But anyways.
Ryan Pepio's their number 2, probably. Joe Boyle, who's probably going to be his first year as a starter. They signed Nick Martinez from the Reds, who's old. And Shane McClanahan, who is going to be kind of their big wild card this year. Rasmussen is, I'd say, one of the most interesting pitchers in baseball, funny nicknames aside. He was awesome last year in terms of results, but he throws 91% fastballs, which is just kind of insane to me. And on those fastballs, he's produced the best run value in all of baseball. Run value is cumulative, so he's kind of cheating because he throws so many fastballs. The run value is going to go up more than people who are throwing a normal amount of fastballs. But it just shows that his fastballs are great. He throws four-seamer, he throws a sinker, he throws a cutter, and very, very rarely he will throw an off-speed pitch. He was innings limited last year. Towards the end of the year, he was only allowed to go maximum of like 4 or 5 innings. He had a pitch limit of like 60 pitches, and he was still consistently going 5 innings on those 60 pitches, allowing 1 or 2 earned runs pretty much every time. So with a full innings workload this year, he could really be a problem, I think.
Yeah, I think it's also just a question of what he's going to look like. I mean, you don't know if he's going to throw 91% fastballs on a full workload, but yeah, I mean, he definitely this entire the Rays have definitely fallen off in terms of their development in the last few years, but their pitching development is still nothing to laugh about, and I think whatever happens, they're going to be working in the lab this offseason to make this rotation as good as possible. And here's a really, I think it's just hard to say. I really just can't see him throwing 91% fastballs in a full year of pitching. And,
It worked. I think that his mix will change a little bit going to the new ballpark, but his fastballs are so different from each other. I think it works. It's like Cam Schlittler in the playoffs. Like he was throwing basically 90% fastballs. When you're throwing 90% incredible fastballs, it does work. It just kind of is that sustainable over the course of a full season? I guess we'll see. He did end up throwing a lot of innings. He didn't throw a full like 180, but he did get up way well past 100. And I think obviously you mentioned that the adage of don't trade with the Rays because they'll develop your shitty prospects into MLB All-Stars isn't really true anymore. But I think that's more so because the rest of the league has caught up rather than the Rays falling off. Like it used to be that the Rays were the only people that could unlock these random shitters from like the Pirates and the Rockies. But now lots of teams can, like the Yankees, the Dodgers, even some randoms like the Mariners, some of these AL Central teams, the Tigers even. So I think they're just not getting like these free, insanely stuffy relievers that they can turn into elite pitchers because the other teams know that they shouldn't give it to in the first place. That being said, Ryan Pepio, their number 2 starter, is another interesting case. He threw the most innings of his career last year, but he seems kind of just to be like a regular quality starter. He doesn't seem to be like he's going to be a Cy Young candidate. It'd be hard for him to make an all-star team, but he'll be good. And for any team in baseball, having a good starter as your number 2 is fine. Like obviously you'd want to have somebody a little bit better than like a 3.6 ERA as your number 2, but he will keep them in games and give them a chance to compete against these nutty AL East rivals of theirs.
yeah, I agree. And, I mean, he had a few games last year where he, he was getting a lot of whiffs, getting a lot of strikeouts, and kind of just rolling through lineups. So at the end of the day, someone who can get you through 5 innings of a game, 6 innings of a game is better than someone who can't. So this rotation,
And he probably won't give up 10
yeah,
runs.
this rotation's really scrappy. It could go either way on any day, especially when you get towards the bottom here with the Joe Boyles and the Martinezes and the McClenahans. It really is going to be day-to-day thing, and depending on the lineup. And I think the Yankees definitely, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm scared of something that I'm not. I'm going to change my attitude here. I think the Yankees really could do a lot of damage against the Rays this year. I think the Yankees did a lot of damage against the Rays last year. They had 2 games with 9 home runs last year, one against the Brewers on day 2 and one against the Rays in the middle of the summer. Like they rocked on the Rays last year. And yeah, they're going back to the Trop, and I'm sure that that's going to be a benefit or whatever. And I just can't stand the Trop, and I really just hate thinking about having to go through Trop ball again. I thought that the GMS thing was a multi-year deal, and I was wrong in that. And so that's disappointing. But yeah, I'm really not scared of this rotation, especially not as you get towards the bottom here. So just throwing in a little Yankees perspective there, I guess.
Yeah, I think that the 3 on the bottom of this rotation, Joe Boyle, Nick Martinez, and Shane McClanahan, are all kind of wild cards in terms of what they're going to give the Rays. Joe Boyle and Nick Martinez are basically like polar opposites. Nick Martinez is a command guy. He's 35 years old. He doesn't allow hard hit balls, but he doesn't do anything else well. He doesn't strike people out. He doesn't do any of that. Joe Boyle, on the other hand, throws really hard. He averaged like 98 on his fastball as a starter, but he's never thrown more than 100 innings in a season. He didn't really start much last year. He had a couple games where he started, it was mixed bag. A couple of games he looked great, a couple of games he got shelled. He doesn't have good command, but lots of great stuff. Shane McClanahan, I think, will really make or break this team in terms of if they're a great team or a good to great team or of pretty significantly below average team. I think people forget just how insane he was in 2022. Ryan, go look at Shane McClanahan's 2022 Baseball Savant page. I think you will be deeply shocked.
Okay,
he was just an absurd pitcher, but that was literally going on 4 years ago. He hasn't thrown in the majors since 2023. He hasn't thrown. Look at that face. He hasn't thrown more than 170 innings ever in his career.
That's wild.
So
He's a demon.
you never know what he's going to get. He was coming off not only Tommy John, but some pretty serious nerve issues in his elbow, which really can be career-ending. That's pretty much the worst that you can get, besides maybe like thoracic outlet syndrome. So he's scheduled to make his first spring training start next Tuesday. I'm pretty sure he did actually pitch in spring training last year, at least a little bit before he got shut down. So we're going to get a lot of answers on how good this Rays team is going to be as a whole, watching him perform. I'd be relatively optimistic as a Yankees fan that he's not going to return to this 2022 utter dominance.
Yeah.
But it's just something to consider that it could still be in the tank. He's not old, but I'm not too worried about him.
I mean, listen, if Shane McClanahan is a productive pitcher, he's a productive pitcher. And like I said, I don't think the Rays are going to make the playoffs this year. I don't think they're going to be a World Series contender. I think they're going to do enough damage to mess things up at the end of the year for all four of the other AL East teams. And that's what I'm more worried about than anything. Like, I'm more worried about the one start on a Wednesday in August or whatever when Joe Boyle is just like mowing us down and I'm sitting here ripping my hair out because it just always seems to happen. And Rays fans do this gimmick now where they pretend it doesn't and it's just all gone. That juice, that devil magic juice is still there. And they're going back to the Trop. So whatever, satanic
it's going
mojo
up.
they had is coming back.
The Rays also have Griffin Jax, who didn't have a great year last year in terms of results. He had above a 4 ERA, but that was mostly just based on a few bad outings right as he got traded to Tampa Bay from the Twins. They gave up, I think it was just Taj Bradley to get him, which we make fun of because we hate Taj Bradley in our fantasy league. Taj Bradley. But that was a pretty big piece of theirs to give up for a reliever. And his underlying numbers are really incredible. He has basically best in baseball chase rate, whiff rate, and strikeout rate. He strikes out 35% of the batters he faces. I'd be surprised if he wasn't elite as a closer. So the Rays have at least one frontline starter with Drew Rasmussen. They have an elite closer in Griffin Jax. And they have some juice in their lineup. I know you love Junior Caminero, so why don't you tell me a little bit about what you love about him?
All right. Well, again, I feel like we sound like a broken record right now, and it's only going to get worse because we're drafting in like 3 weeks or something like that. But Junior was on my fantasy team, and so I do enjoy Junior. But the home and away splits are interesting. I don't know how much I really believe in that narrative because, so Junior's whole thing, the appeal is obviously his power. He's an incredible, prolific power hitter. Best bat speed in baseball. He just absolutely destroys, hits the seams off the ball. And that remained true wherever he was playing, whether it was at GMS or away. Like he was, and his slugging percentage stayed really high throughout his home and away splits. The contact rates, however, suffered when he was not playing in George Steinbrenner Field. And that is a bit of a head scratcher. He had a 954 OPS at home and a 743 on the road, and it did get better at the end of the year. And obviously, like I said, it wasn't a power issue, and that's his whole thing. So I do think people make too big of a deal about that. He is also second percentile in launch angle sweet spot. So if he hits the ball in the air more, he is going to be elite. Like there's just no question about it. And that the scary part of this Rays team is definitely the lineup. I mean, there's a lot of pop, and I'm sure they're.
I
gonna
think
find
that they're probably one of the most top-heavy lineups in all of baseball.
without a doubt.
Junior had, as you said, he had 954 OPS at home and 743 on the road, but contact rates being bad at another park really says to me that it was kind of just a fluke. Like, you don't forget how to hit, you don't forget how to recognize pitches when you go to another ballpark. If the slugging's the same, because that's what's weird about George M. Steinbrenner, like, you just hit a lot of home runs there. But if the slugging stays the same, more or less, at home and on the road, I really don't think that him moving back to the Trop is going to have a tremendous impact on him, even though he had like a 200 OPS difference last year, home and away. Him being second percentile in launch angle sweet spot, which is just like him hitting the ball in the air, was really surprising to me, considering he had 40 home runs, right? He could have he could hit 60 if he had even like an average launch angle. Like,
dude, he just literally just hits the shit out of the baseball. It's insane. Like, and I tapped into like a couple of Rays. Like, I watched his at bats or whatever, and every time and like he's like Ben Rice. Even though like the every batted ball is a 110 mile per hour line out or whatever. It's insane the way he just destroys baseballs. And like you said, if he even gets to like, dude, like he's second percentile in launch angle sweet spot. If he gets to like 25th percentile, he's gonna be unstoppable. I mean, he already is.
Easy, he had 40
home runs. Like, he had 40 home runs last year. He is currently an unstoppable hitter. So, yeah, that's terrifying.
Yanni Diaz is kind of a funny comp to Junior just because he's 34, so he's old, but he's had kind of the same thing going his whole career where he has crazy high exit velo, but he hits it on the ground every time. I think Junior's definitely a more interesting player to look at just because he's much younger and he's open to changing. I don't think his game is set in stone yet. Yandy is who he is at this point. I don't think he's going to learn to lift the ball in the air at age 35, but he's still great. You do have to wonder at some point, will he slow down as he gets older, but he's not really reliant on bat speed like Junior is. His bat speed is good, but not great, but he still hits rockets. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded at some point this year if the Rays aren't in it, but until then, he's going to be a problem, as he has been for, I don't know, the last decade.
Yeah. I thought he was going to get traded this year. I think everybody did. I remember like it was the Rays. Cabby came across the dugout. Everybody thought, he was. Everybody thought he was going to go to the Red Sox. That would have been terrible. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Please don't do that. But they probably will. Nothing bad ever happens to the Red Sox. Did you see that picture of Devers and Bregman?
Yeah, of course.
Bregman posted a picture of him and Devers together, like dapping up in their new uniforms. Crazy.
Red Sox fans losing their minds. I'm gonna go like we have room for a little bit of a tangent here. Ranger Suarez, who signed with the Red Sox, got shelled in his first spring training outing. He's throwing like 80 miles per hour. Maybe something bad will happen to this team.
Maybe. I mean, I think the rotation's deep enough that even if Ranger isn't good, that I'm sure it'll be fine because they'll still have.
No, they're not making the playoffs. They're not making the playoffs.
But, dude, I'm not scared of that lineup, and we'll talk about this at length in another episode. I'm not scared of that lineup at all. And
I think our hate of the Red Sox versus our hate of the Rays. I've really lost my hatred of the Rays that I had when they were really good.
Yeah. I mean, they just
I used to fucking hate the Rays.
Dude, but then
I think all my hatred for the Rays went to the Blue Jays now that the Blue Jays are good.
They were
obviously we year round forever have the Boston hatred, but
the Rays were just so emblematic of the nothing bad ever happens to them team, and then they got nuked with the Shane McClanahan and the Wander stuff. Just I mean that doesn't happen ever, And so I think that just
now you just kind of feel bad.
Yeah, now it's just damn, what? Yeah.
And they're not the Rays fans aren't obnoxious like Orioles fans are. Bad things happen to the Orioles, and I'm yeah, you guys are annoying as shit.
Yeah.
wham wham. But like bad things happen to the Rays. I'm like, damn, like that sucks, bro. Last on the kind of demon lineup part of the Rays team is Jonathan Aranda, who I don't think you respect, but I think you should. He was like, go look at his Savant page. Like he actually had some juice. He has terrible bat speed, but pretty much all of his other expected numbers are really excellent. He had a 96th percentile xWOBA, like a 97th percentile expected batting average, 93rd percentile expected slugging. He hits the ball really hard even though he doesn't swing the bat hard. He's just a good hitter, and I think that he would have gotten a lot more respect if... Didn't we injure him? Didn't like we run into his hand or something? We being the Yankees?
Oh, yeah. Who did that?
I'm pretty sure we broke his hand in a game. It might have been... For some reason, I think it's Goldschmidt.
I feel like
I
it
might
was
be wrong,
Grisham.
though. It'd be... I have the video here. I'm watching the video right now. Dude, it was Stanton.
No way.
Giancarlo Stanton.
That's crazy.
He's running at like 3 miles per hour and obliterated Jonathan Aranda's hand.
Dude, did you see that video of him running?
Last
during
year,
spring training?
oh my god,
it's actually
Giancarlo Stanton. Like we didn't have this in the spring training update. Giancarlo Stanton says his elbows hurt so bad he can't open a bag of chips. Chips are off limits for Giancarlo Stanton, but he says he's gonna play a full season. Yeah, I'm sure, dude.
Dude,
just he's got like I love him, but he's got to retire. Like, come on, man. You can't open a bag of chips.
Just be ready for the last regular season was great, but I'd rather just take the whole year off and be ready for October. Like that's all you need from him at this point. You know, like the lineup was fine without him. Like the lineup was the best lineup in baseball, and then it got juiced by a random 150 OPS plus Stanton. And
yeah,
whatever. Anyways,
Aranda, speaking of 150 OPS plus though, like, could you believe like at the beginning of the season, if I told you Stanton was gonna have his best year as a Yankee and that Jonathan Aranda would be a better hitter than him, you would have said, who the fuck is Jonathan Aranda? So. Yeah. I think that last year, like, he's been good for his career. Like, he only had 150 plate appearances in 2023 and 2024, respectively. Mm-hmm. But he was above a 700 OPS in those years. I think that this next year, if he continues at where he was at, I think he's going to be a really excellent player. Like, I doubt he would get traded, but he could fetch, like, a major haul as a trade piece, too. Especially if he even just keeps up what he had going last year. The other people on the roster to watch besides like the big three at the top, the only ones I could think of were Chandler Simpson, big speed guy, but he can't hit and he can't play defense. Like he could steal a million bags when he does get on base, but he doesn't walk. He kind of just is like a slap hitter. So like I'm not really concerned about him. It is really funny to me that he's like the fastest person on earth, but he can't play defense because he just doesn't read the ball in the air well. Cedric Mullins is coming off like his worst bit of baseball in his career by far with the Mets.
Dude, Mets fans
truly hilarious, by the way.
Dude, it's so funny.
Shout out Cedric Mullins, sleeper agent.
No, because you remember
for the Yankees, I guess.
They were playing the Orioles, and somebody got hurt, and he stopped running on the bases, dude. I thought Frank the Tank was gonna die. He was losing his
Gavin
mind.
Lux got traded to the Rays too, but like he sucks. I mean, I'm gonna look at his Savant. I honestly didn't look, but he's been traded around. Yeah, he's not good.
He's gonna be their next.
He doesn't strike out. He's gonna be
he's gonna be their next annoying guy. Like
he will be annoying. He actually does strike out at an above average rate. A below average rate. He just doesn't chase really. So he'll just be annoying, but he won't be good. I'm sure they'll pull some randoms out of their ass to be a pain in our butts. But overall, I think we're both in agreement that this is pretty clearly the worst the worst team in the division. But would you say that these guys would win the AL Central if they're in the Central?
Yeah. Yeah? Would they beat the Tigers?
I think they could be close to the Tigers.
I think it would be
like the Tigers are
the Tigers. Like
which is funny.
Their lineup is better than the Tigers. I think the Tigers'
Yeah,
bullpen is
definitely.
probably better. I think the Tigers' bullpen has more depth, but I mean, Griffin Jax is better than any Tigers reliever.
I think it's just like when I get an opportunity to hate on the AL Central,
Yeah.
it's like a light bulb goes off in my brain, and just all the emotions of hatred just come to the surface. We'd win like 150 games if we were in the AL
It
Central.
makes me so
We would
mad.
set the we would set the win record by June.
Every time.
Fucking bullshit division.
Have you seen our stats against the Royals in the 2020s?
It's
I think,
so
like,
funny,
as
bro.
a collective
So that's against
team,
any
we're
of these
hitting,
fucking
like,
teams.
500 against the Royals. It's insane.
Dude, because they're bad.
They're so bad, dude. How did dude, the Orioles, the 2024 Orioles were...
The Orioles suck,
I was
bro.
thinking about this the other day. Do you remember the shit off for the 2024 AL East, dude? When the Yankees and the Orioles were just losing games every single day? Like,
dude, it's
that was
embarrassing.
so bad.
The
Dude.
Rays also don't even have like a lot of prospects. Like you
No.
always think the Rays is like the prospect coming up team, but they don't have a single top 50 prospect. Their highest ranked prospect is Carson Williams right now. He's rated 63rd on Pipeline. He came up last year and was terrible. He had a sub 600 OPS with a major league team. Obviously, there's probably at least some juice more than hitting 170 in the tank, but doesn't look like he's going to be an MVP candidate anytime soon.
This is the
They got an
worst part.
outfielder in the pipeline who... Go on.
No, I was just saying, this is the worst part about this, dude. This division is nonstop. Because not only does everybody spend, everybody's good at developing. Like, once the Rays, like, stopped being good, everybody else got, like, the Orioles are just a prospect farm. The Red Sox are a prospect farm. The Blue Jays are, like, out of nowhere a prospect farm. We're, like, and I'm sure other teams say this about us. Like, we have 4 people on the top 100 list out of nowhere. Like Legrand, Elmer Rodriguez, Ben Hess is getting a lot of love lately. Dax Kilby, I'm sure that a lot of people have him on their radar. Love Dax Kilby, dude. Really, George Lombard. Like, we got a lot of guys coming up through the system right now, and I'm really excited to see how it all pans out. But anyways, yeah, the Rays. We got to win every game against the Rays this year because I'm just like if the missing the 1 seed by 1 game thing happens again, I'm gonna lose my mind. I can't do that again. So.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have at least. Okay, I'm gonna set the line at over under 2.5 heartbreaking Rays losses this year. Are you taking the over or the under?
I'm gonna go under. I think they're really determined this year to like prevent the like June swoon bullshit where they're losing to teams they shouldn't be losing to. And so I think there's going to be like some Rays losses that are like, yeah, whatever. But there's not going to be, I don't think there's going to be that many where I'm like throwing my remote at the wall Rays losses. I feel like that juice is gone. It's gone to the Blue Jays. There's going to be at least.
Devin Williams is off the team. He can't blow games to the Rays anymore. Big exhale on that one.
Yeah.
Oh my God, fuck that guy.
Yeah, dude,
We've come full circle. Fuck you, Devin
fuck
Williams.
you, Devin Williams, dude.
I'm gonna take the under, but I think we're gonna have here's my bold prediction. I think we're gonna have one bullpen meltdown. I think we're gonna have a Camilo Doval meltdown.
That's legit.
At least once to the Rays, where they get like 5 singles that squib through the infield. And I think we're gonna have one Junior Caminero like 700-foot bomb that will really fuck us in one game. But other than that, I think we're going to handle business against the Rays.
I agree.
It would be interesting to see if they sell the deadline. There's a ton of pieces that these guys have that would be coveted by other teams. Obviously, the Yankees could use some of them, but that will get them. Jose Caballero, thank you for him, Rays. He did well today. Love that guy. But with that, I think we can just kind of wrap it up here.
Yeah.
You got anything else to say?
No, I think excited to keep watching some spring training ball. I think the World Baseball Classic is starting soon, so it'll be exciting to see Elmer Rodriguez getting some real game action. Like that's legit competition for him. And the Yankees, I didn't know this. They said he was only allowed to compete if he was competing as a starter. So they want him in those situations, and I am excited to see him in those situations. And I'm excited to see Judge, who's clearly ready. He hit 2 home runs the other day. He's he never hits in the spring, and I'm excited to. It's his year. He's going to run the table at the World Baseball Classic. He's going to run the table in the regular season like he always does. He's going to run the table in the playoffs. Like, this is 2026 is the year of Judge. So,
yeah, let's
exciting.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We would love to hear from you. If you got this from Twitter, give us a follow. If you got this on any other platform, give us a follow as well. And we'll be back next Friday with another preview video. We're going to look at probably the Orioles next week, which is a team that we actually might have to worry about. So until then,
worried about the Orioles.
Enjoy. Yeah, well, they suck. Until then, keep watching spring training. It's great to be back. We'll catch you next week.
Catch you next week. Thank you, everybody.